Let's get it up and going. Should be live. Hey,
Are
look
we?
at
Are we
that.
though?
We are. We are.
I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, I see it.
All right. We ready? Let's do it to
Sure
it.
am.
What a wild card weekend. Now, a handful of the games were pretty standard blowouts, the right team winning. Two of them, though, surprisingly wild blowouts. A really great weekend of football. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Booth Review. As always, I'm your host, Devin Primrose, joined by that Sultan of Spice. I know he's feeling good after Saturday night. What's going on, Mr. Peter Strauss? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. If there's one thing I've learned is that Kadarius Toney should just stay off the field.
I mean, it worked out.
Worked out. Worked out for us this week. Jawan Taylor had a few scares, but our defense still. And people are going to say stuff about the weather, and it's they delayed the Steelers game so that Josh Allen wouldn't have to play in the snow and all this BS. It's football. There's football weather. You have to be used to playing in the cold. That's just how it works.
Listen, Kansas City has some crazy fans to be out there in that temperature, shirtless, hooting and hollering. I mean, I know Green Bay's kind of known for having like fans like that as well, but I mean, crazies.
Yeah, they were doing it, and I mean, because of the delay, Buffalo wasn't as cold as Kansas City, but it was still.
Right.
I mean, the wind chill was like at 0. Like that's still
still pretty freaking cold. Yeah, yeah, especially for us down here in the South. Yeah, I mean, I don't think. I think if you play that game in regular, normal weather where it's not, a wind chill of negative 30 degrees or whatever it was, I think the Chiefs probably still win. And a lot of it is their defense. Their defense is legit. Like, I think that's far and away the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has had his entire time there. The problem is that the offense is lacking. And I do think that eventually, if and when they play a solid defense, which could be the Bills coming up, although the Bills defense has been hit or miss, could very easily be the Ravens in the championship round. I do think that could come back to bite them, is the lack of offensive weapons stepping up. Although I say that, but Rashee Rice had a solid game. So
Rashee Rice is legit. And what's funny is the people who struggled this game were Travis Kelce and Mecole Hardman, who are the only two offensive players that were here when we won the first Super Bowl back in 2019, 2020.
Right. Yeah.
That season. But like MVS caught a pass. Justin Watson had a great sideline, first down pass.
Yeah.
Noah Gray, usually getting involved, had a good catch. But yeah, it was Travis Kelce, who still had a great game, but he had two of them pretty crucial drops, and hopefully that doesn't continue with us going against a probably good Buffalo Bills team.
I mean, the thing with Buffalo is, like, I still don't think Buffalo is, like, exceptional. I think that they got lucky with who they had to play in the first round, I feel like. Pittsburgh's not a legit threat when you have Mason Rudolph as your quarterback and TJ Watt on the sidelines. Like, that's not a legit threat competition for you to get an idea of how good you really are. Now, I say all that, and they still had to win like 6 or 7 games in a row to even make it in, and to get in as the 2 seed. So, obviously, they're killing it, and they played good teams along the way. One of them being the Cowboys, who they pretty much demolished in Buffalo. But I still don't quite know how I feel about them. I think a lot of the identity that was there the last couple years when they've been going on these playoff runs is still there. But I think that it is. I mean, we closed the window on them like 6 weeks ago, and I think the window is closing for that team still. But slight opening.
I do want to point out, too, that game in particular, a lot of what happened, the Steelers kind of did to themselves. Like, they had a couple fumbles, they had the red zone interception.
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. And they were back in the game for like a hot minute in the fourth quarter. And then just the defense let up a big play and they couldn't get back from it. But the Steelers put up more of a fight than I think a lot of people thought they were going to.
Yeah.
And we're very close to making it a close game the whole game.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Listen, we had some surprises over the weekend, and that kind of ties into my best of the booth. So I'm going to just jump right into my best of the booth. Before I do that, I did promise that I would start this podcast episode off with an apologetic monologue. Because if you're in the Discord, me and our other buddy Dalen, that we host our other podcast, Put Stuff with, we're getting a lot of crap because we're both Packers fans, and last year was a very difficult year for both of us because the way the front office went about handling Rodgers, and Rodgers, really the whole tenure of Rodgers' time there, but especially the last couple years, as far as not surrounding him with weapons, not taking advantage of the talent that you have, and putting your best foot forward to go win a championship. The front office is kind of continually relying on Rodgers to be the hero, and everybody else is just secondary, kicking the can down the road, knowing that you're never going to win a championship that way, but you'll always be good enough to miss out on being able to snag great players in the draft. And then on top of that, not actually going out and getting weapons in the draft, instead bolstering a defense that you do nothing with. And all of that frustration led to me and Dalen both saying, we're done with this team. We're out of here. We're no longer fans of this team currently. All that changed when Rodgers left, got traded to the Jets. We moved on. We started over with Jordan Love. That's when everything changed for both of us, and we were back in. Now, I do have to say, I'm sorry, Green Bay, for giving up on you. I apologize as a fan. That was wrong. I should not have done that. And I did say all along the way that, like, Green Bay will always hold a special place in my heart. But I was over them currently. But I want to apologize. And I do happen to agree with Blake, who was the main fusser in the Discord that it's not fair. It's not fair what the Packers do, and I'm sorry to every other fan and of every other franchise out there that it's not fair that we happen to have Brett Favre for 16, 17 years and then transition to Aaron Rodgers for 14, 15 years, and now we seemingly have another guy. Is it going to be the same level? Is it going to be the same top 5, top 3 type quarterback in the league? I don't know. I'm still doubtful of that, but he sure as hell looks like a top 10 quarterback currently. And so it does look like we have another franchise quarterback, and I know it's got to be frustrating for other fans, and I'm sorry. I genuinely am sorry. I don't want that to sound backhanded or as an insult or anything, but I genuinely am sorry, and it isn't fair, and I agree with you. I just happen to pick the Packers as my team that I grew up a fan of, so I'm sorry. What do you want from me? All that being said, my best of the booth is for 2 first-year starting quarterbacks. One is a rookie, one's a first-year starter, making their playoff debuts and absolutely tearing up quote-unquote elite defenses that they faced. On Saturday, we kicking off the weekend, we had Browns, Texans. A lot of people on the Browns. Few people on the Texans. You were on the Texans. I missed out on that. I said I hope they do, but I think the Browns will get the win. I was wrong. CJ Stroud had an amazing day for them. 16-21, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 157.2 passer rating, 98.4 QBR. That's just shy of a perfect passer rating, and again, QBR is on a scale of 100. What's crazy is the very next day, about 24 hours later, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers went into Dallas and did the exact same thing. Lit up an elite defense that is the Dallas Cowboys, who were playing lights out at home, and interestingly enough, had almost an identical stat line. Jordan Love, 16 of 21. That's 76.2% completion percentage, by the way. 272 yards, so just 2 yards less. 3 touchdowns, 157.2 passer rating. Would have had a perfect passer rating if they didn't put him back in at the end of the game where he had an incompletion, which is slightly frustrating. But 99.3 QBR, which is an insanely high QBR. I believe that's the highest QBR. The highest QBR since it became a stat in a playoff game. I'm not sure about that. I posted it in the Discord. Go hop into the Discord and look for that if you're interested. But yeah, just amazing days from both of them in their playoff debuts, when you would think that these two guys might crumble under the pressure when they're going up against these top-tier defenses, and they put on an absolute show. And, man, I think fans of these two franchises, especially because Packers had no expectations going into this year. It was a restart. It wasn't like we're supposed to be competing. It was, okay, well, if we make some noise, cool. If we don't, whatever. This is about figuring out what we have in Jordan Love. And I think we got something. And guess what, Houston? You got something in CJ also. So hats off to both of them. Also, quick shout out to Aaron Jones for the Packers as well. I want to give him a little mention too. 21 carries for 118 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. Killer day from him as well. And I will shut up and let Pete talk because I know I've been blabbering on over here. So, yeah, that's all I got to say. Best of the booth to those 3 guys.
I was eating nuggets, so I was fine. I know you plugged our Discord, but I don't remember seeing that stat, so I went and looked for it myself.
Okay.
Here are the top 5 QBRs in playoff games. We'll start at number 5, so we can build some suspense here.
There we go.
Tied for 5th at 97.7 are Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship against Tennessee. That led him to Mahomes' first Super Bowl victory.
That was year 1 or year 2 for him?
That was his second year as a starter.
Gotcha.
Because his first year as a starter, they lost to Brady in the AFC Championship.
That's right. Yeah.
With that, we're not going to talk about the refs.
Yep. That was the D Ford offsides game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Also tied at fifth, 97.7 is Drew Brees in the 2010, I think it was wild card round as well against Arizona, which was a blowout, 45-14. I don't remember that game in particular, but
Oh, neither.
was that the year that Brees won it? Is that the year they went on to win?
What year was it?
2010. So it would have been the 2009 season.
No. No, that would have been shoot. I know it.
Or was that one of the Eli Manning wins?
You know what? It could have been, actually. It could have been.
Look up Super Bowl winners in a minute.
So the Saints won the Super Bowl against the Colts in either 09 or 2010. I don't remember which year.
Well, regardless.
Yeah.
Still good company so far. Number 4 was Tom Brady all the way back in 2008 against Jacksonville. That was a 98 even path or QBR there.
Wow.
At number 3, the 98.4, who we just talked about, was CJ Stroud.
Yep.
In this game against one of the best defenses we've seen in a while with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
98.8 at number 2 was Josh Allen 2 years ago against the Patriots, which was Mac Jones' first year that they shouldn't have been in the playoffs anyway.
That's right.
And number 1, Jordan Love, 99.3 against the Dallas Cowboy defense. The elite Dallas Cowboy defense, which this is my under review, so this is all kind of tangled up into one. I don't know who that defense was last night, but it wasn't the Dallas Cowboys defense that we've seen all year.
Yeah.
like Jordan Love is great. He may be the best back foot passer we've ever seen. Like every single deep shot he takes, I feel like he's leaning on his back foot.
That's a Rodgers thing.
He does it.
That's a Rodgers thing. That's where he got it from. Is Rodgers did that he's done that his entire career.
But you look at some of those, the touchdown to I think it was Musgrave, the tight end. Nobody within 20 feet of that or 20 yards of that guy.
Yeah.
How do you do that? He literally stopped at the 15-yard line because it was underthrown.
Yeah.
But he had so much time. He literally stopped at the 15-yard line, caught the ball, turned around, and walked into the end zone. Nobody could catch him.
What's crazy is that play. So for most of the game, they played in zone coverage, and for whatever, because they're not typically a zone defense. And on that play, they were in man, and it was a busted man coverage. So I'm with you. That's not the Dallas Cowboys defense.
And it's not like I know they haven't had Trey Diggs all year, but they've had they have Stephon Gilmore, they've had Deron Bland, who broke that record. Like you still have Micah Parsons, who should be getting to the ball, who only had 2 tackles.
Yep,
2 tackles the whole game from Micah Parsons, who a lot of people thought was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year every year. Every year he's in that conversation.
Yeah.
And you could say similar things about the Browns, although the Texans had 2 defensive touchdowns. So if you take away those 14 points, that game's a little closer. But regardless, I don't know if it's Dan Quinn like being on his way out anyway, like just not caring. I don't know. Although, if you're looking for him for a head coaching job now, this has to leave a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth.
Oh, definitely.
But this team just wasn't here. 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflected, 3 QB hits. No turnovers, no sacks, nothing. Like, this might as well have been... This might as well have been Green Bay's defense from like the past 4 weeks coming into this game. That's what this might as well have been.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
to lay that kind of goose egg at home is just wild.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like I picked the Packers to win this game, but I wasn't. I think I even said at the time that I don't expect them to win. I just think they're going to put up more of a fight than people are thinking they will. And I think everybody on the broadcast, I'm almost positive, picked the Cowboys. I don't think anybody picked the Packers. Most people across the media picked the Cowboys. And I thought that this is not a sure thing. I part of that is I think the difference between this Green Bay team and the Seahawks team isn't that much different. I think they're kind of similar in similar spots. And you look at what Seattle did 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago when they were out there, and that was a shootout game. That was a 3-point game. I'm pretty sure, very close, came down to the wire. That's what I thought this game would be. Obviously, I was very shocked at what happened. Not upset, but shocked. And I think that what it came down to is Green Bay literally played a perfect game on both sides of the ball. Their defense completely neutralized CD, shut down any rush attack from Tony Pollard, and forced Dak to make mistakes. Picked him off twice, returned one for a pick six. Like a perfect game. And on the offensive side, again, Jordan Love 99.3 QBR, nearly perfect quarterback rating, nearly perfect passer rating. Just a fantastic job. I mean, I don't think you could ask for any better of a game from any of the 22 guys that were out there on that field. And Dallas just couldn't. I think they got shell shocked.
I think a big part of it too is a lot of people were saying all of the pressures between Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, all of the pressure was on the Dallas Cowboys. None of the pressure was on the Green Bay Packers. They're like, we're here. Let's just go do it.
Yep.
And they did.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, because there's no expectations. Like, again, nobody expected them to be in the playoffs. Nobody expected them to be making a run at anything. Like, it just, like, I think finishing at 500 would have been a blessing for fans. And they finished slightly over, and now they're on a run. So we'll see how long it lasts.
I'm genuinely shocked that we haven't heard any announcements from
the
Cowboys front office yet.
I am too. Do you want to go ahead and do your best of the booth?
Yeah. My best of the booth is a team that also mostly played a perfect game. They let some few big plays go, and I was debating whether I wanted to give it to somebody on the offense, if I wanted to give it to the defense. And at that point, I'm like, I think we just give it to the coach here. And I think we need to give a big shout out to MCDC. Dan Campbell doing what he said, starting his first season 3-10, coming up, biting a kneecap, keeping the Packers out of the playoff, coming up, biting a kneecap, biting the other kneecap, winning the division, beating Devil Matthew Stafford coming back home. And I am disappointed by that narrative of like, I understand it and I get it. And I'm not like mad about it, but it is sad to see Matt Stafford treated that way in Detroit.
Yeah.
If I think I said this in the Discord, if this was a regular season game, it would be open arms. Like they would have a ceremony parade for him and all that. But this environment being the first playoff game, like you can't have that distraction. And I get it. It's sad, but I get it. But MCDC putting this team together, they drafted like some perfect rookies, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, and Jack Campbell, all those guys. Huge. I think they said this was the first time. Were there 3 rookies that scored? I can't remember. Like the youngest or the first time 2 rookies have scored in a playoff game or something like that from the same team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because Jahmyr Gibbs got in and Laporta got one. But yeah, just to go through some of these numbers here, because it's not like anybody had like the most astonishing game ever. Like they all had very, no picks, no turnovers, 74.6 QBR. Amon-Ra St. Brown had the most yards, 7 catches for 110 yards, and iced the game for him at the very end. And then the defense, after letting a bunch of big play go early and letting Puka Nacua get 181 yards, which is also insane.
Yeah.
Hold them to field goals in the second half to keep them ahead. Because it was a very slow second half for Detroit. If you look at the scores, I think they were up by 4 going into halftime, and then they get another field goal on their first drive of the second half and never score again. And that defense just holds and holds and holds and does not let the Rams into the end zone to get ahead of them ever again. And It was a beautiful thing to see. And I think MCDC deserves all of the credit for, well, especially he was a coach that not a lot of people believed in when he first started there.
Yeah.
But man, him putting that team together and getting this team a playoff win, and now they get to host another divisional round game. They get 2. They're spoiled over there. It's incredible for them.
Well, I mean, that's another reason why, like, one, selfishly, I want the Packers to upset the Niners. But even more so, if the Packers do upset the Niners, then everything runs through Detroit, assuming that they, next week, then an NFC Championship game would be in the city. Go crazy. Who knows what would happen if that occurs?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know if that town could handle it. I don't know what would happen.
Yeah. All right, hold on.
They deserve it. They deserve it.
Hold on a second, because I am dropping frames like crazy over here. And I don't know why.
Yeah, I noticed you were out of sync with me. You're normally not out of sync, but you're out of sync with me.
Yeah, it's bad.